On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we have the sequel to one of Blue Sky's more recent successes, Rio 2, which you think would be maybe better than the original film, but no, not this one. We also have Karen Gillan starring alongside Kitty Sackhoff in the Jason Blum-produced Oculus from director Mike Flanagan. Ivan Reitman shows us the behind-the-scenes stories of what happens on draft day for the Cleveland Browns in Kevin Costner's new film Draft Day. And we have Nicolas Cage starring alongside Mud's Ty Sheridan in Joe from director David Gordon Green. It's April 11, 2014, and this is Time About the Movies. April 11th. Yeah, you know, a sequel is desperate when they can't even come up with a new villain for the sequel. They have to go back to the old villain in general. I mean, it worked so well with Shrek the Third. No, it didn't. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We are taking a look at the 4 films that make up April 11th, 2014. And our first one is the biggest new release, Rio 2. It's a jungle out there for Blue, voiced by Jesse Eisenberg, Jewel, voiced by Anne Hathaway, and their 3 kids as they've hurtled Rio de Janeiro into the wilds of the Amazon. As Blue tries to fit in, he goes beak to beak with the vengeful Nigel, once again voiced by Jermaine Clement, and meets the most fearsome adversary of all, his father-in-law, voiced by Andy Garcia. And I really liked the first Rio movie. It was bright and colorful with likable characters, a good story, a voice cast that worked very well off each other, some spectacular animation. So how do you screw that up with a sequel in general? Oh wait, when they decide to rip off not only Shrek 2 and 3, but also the Meet the Parents movies and not be creative with it at all. I was so pissed off at how bad this movie was. This is one of the most uninspired and laziest kids sequels I have ever seen in my entire life. The one thing that still has going for it is the animation. The animation is still just as stunning and gorgeous as it was in the first movie, and that's the one thing I have to give it credit for. But, like I always said, visuals don't make the fucking movie. It's just like video games. The graphics can be spectacular, but the gameplay has to be good too. And most times when that happens, it's not. But yeah, this is a wasted opportunity on so many levels. Instead of just simply coming up with a clever sequel that would work well for a second film, a clever story for a sequel, they just repeat the same story done in Shrek 2, Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, and do absolutely nothing creative with it. It's literally the same movie, except just take Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller, and Shrek out of the picture and replace them with the characters from Rio. That's all this really is. And like I said before, you know when there's no creativity when you're bringing back the same villain from the first movie, who was literally killed off in the previous movie. Well, technically, he wasn't. I mean, he looked like he did when he got blown through the airplane motor, but of course he did survive at the end of it. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, be more creative about it, man. That's why Shrek the Third didn't work all that well, because that was one of his problems. They brought back an old villain and tried to make him the main baddie in this, and he's no fairy godmother from Shrek 2. I'm sorry, but you're never going to be able to convince me of that. But on top of that, the characters from the first movie don't really change all that much, especially Blue. Blue, at least in the first movie, stood up for himself to save his girl at the end of the last film, but again, like with most sequels, it's basically just, oh, all of a sudden he's gone back down to being dumb again, just like in the first movie, because it's literally like he lost his boost of confidence in between films, and now he's back to being the pushover again, even with the kids that he has, and no more proof of that is clearer when Blue has to prove his manhood while Jules' childhood friend, voiced by Bruno Mars, enters the picture. Why does he just say, hey, back away from my girl, man, instead of just like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. I've never had to deal with another man in another person's life. At least in The Rescuers Down Under, Jake was an intriguing character, and he wasn't necessarily a guy who was literally trying to completely try to steal Miss Bianca away from her, but, I mean, at least he was a tolerable character, but in this, man, it's just ridiculous. And the new characters they add leads into, my next problem with the movie, it's just another one of those movies where it says, let's call everybody in Hollywood and get them a role in here, even though they have no reason to play these roles. Like, not only do we have Bruno Mars, you got Andy Garcia, Janelle Monáe, Rita Moreno, Amanda Stoneberg, Kate Micucci, and especially Kristen Chenoweth. Well, some of the roles fit fine, I guess. There's just some that are really pointless casting. You got Kristen Chenoweth as a poison dart frog, and they even give her and Jermaine Clement their own song because, we're just coming off a Frozen success not but a few months ago, and Fox looked at that and said, well, we gotta have our own Frozen, so instead of getting Idina Menzel, let's get the other wicked girl in here, Kristen Chenoweth, and it doesn't work, man. It gets dark, too, for no reason whatsoever. There's literally a scene towards the end of the movie where the poison dart frog commits suicide. it looks like she commits suicide, and now it turns out she's not poisonous, but still, that's pretty fucking dark for a kid's movie. A G-rated kid's film, nonetheless, too. And it just goes to show how lazy and uninventive the writers were for this. It's a bad scene. It's on the same level as the Harold death scene from Shrek the Third. It's just, you think it's supposed to be, whoever wrote it thought it was funny. It was just uncomfortable and annoying, and yet, yeah, it was like that in this movie, too. It's a perfect way to describe the film. Bad, a disappointment. There's absolutely nothing new or creative like the first film did. It's a cookie-cutter, by-the-number animated sequel that there's absolutely nothing new or creative with what it has at all. It's the third consecutive film where it feels like a letdown from Blue Sky Studios after Ice Age and Epic. I mean, there's not a shred of creativity at all. It's just, let's just do what everyone else is doing type of film. It's just like, I mean, you really could just call this movie what Smokey calls it what Smokey says in Friday. Rio 2, I don't give a fuck, because that's literally what it feels like when you watch this movie. It felt like nobody who made this movie gave one fuck about what they're doing. So yeah, not much more to say about Rio 2. Let's try to get back to some better movies here, and we do really have a better movie here, and that is Mike Flanagan's Oculus. Thus, the world was introduced to easily the greatest horror filmmaker working right now. This is based off of a short film by Flanagan called Oculus Chapter 3, The Man with a Plan. And it stars Karen Gillan and Brenton Thwaites as two young adult siblings who are convinced that an antique mirror is responsible for the death and misfortune that their family has suffered. You also have a cast that includes Katie Sackhoff, Rory Cochrane, Annalise Bazo, and Garrett Ryan Erold. And like I said, man, you know, I've talked about Mike Flanagan's work on many other formats, not just here on the channel, but also on the website. He is easily the greatest horror director we have working right now, because he's a guy that can usually take any project and just make it work, no matter what it is. And he's just knocked it out of the park ever since. I mean, this is the guy that gave us, you know, Dr. Sleep. He did he did a Gerald's Game, Ouija, Origin of Evil. He took a Ouija movie from the first Ouija movie that we're going to get to later on in the year that was pretty bad and made a sequel that was actually really good. I mean, this guy is amazing, and he's the guy that's going to do the Exorcist reboot coming up soon with Scarlett Johansson, and hopefully that will turn out to be great. Here you get a sense of what he's going to bring us overall, because this is a really intense film overall. The visual look of the film overall is very well done. It's a very intense film. I mean, Karen Gillan and Brenton Thwaites work off each other very well. The scares are really genuine. There's never a point where you feel like they're just forcing jump scares on you for the sake of jump scares. Everything feels authentic in here, and it works really well. It's a very underrated horror film, especially considering what Flanagan has done since then. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth it. Oculus really is a well-made film. Can't recommend this one enough, so. With all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that's Ivan Reitman's Draft Day.
Draft Day. I love this job.
Rated PG-13, April 11th.
I always found it hilarious that this movie came out around the exact same time the Cleveland Browns broke the NFL draft in 2014 by not only drafting Justin Gilbert, but then everyone was surprised when they moved back up to go get Johnny Manziel, and everyone thought that, oh, this is the future of the Cleveland Browns, and the movie literally feels like that. And of course, we all know what happened to good old Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, and yeah, so needless to say, it didn't quite work out that way, but this is Draft Day, revolving around the fictional general manager of the Cleveland Browns, played by Kevin Costner, deciding what to do with it after his team acquires the #1 draft pick in the upcoming NFL Draft. And this is directed by Ivan Reitman. This was the last thing he directed before he passed away in 2022. This also was the last feature role for Jim Brown, former Cleveland Brown legend, who passed away in 2023. They have a cast that also includes Jennifer Garner, Dennis Leary, Frank Langella, Sam Elliott, Ellen Burstyn, Chadwick Boseman. This is one of his early films in general. A cast that also includes Rosanna Arquette, W. Earl Brown, Kevin Dunn, Arian Foster, a lot of NFL legends all across the board. I mean, this is a movie that feels like it's a direct product of the NFL, with their name all over the movie in general. They got a lot of the NFL Network personnel in here, and yeah, it is a very intriguing film from Reitman. It's a very different film from what we're used to seeing from Reitman in general. It doesn't work all the way through, but I don't think it's as bad as people made it out to be. It was not a big hit when it came out. It was going to get a very mixed reception from most critics in general, but it's not a bad movie. Far from it. It actually is a pretty intriguing film overall, to get to see a glimpse of what's the behind-the-scenes aspect of the draft day process is like for these teams in general. And even if it is a team like the Cleveland Browns, because, I mean, come on, it's a movie where the Cleveland Browns make the best trades ever. When does that ever happen with the Cleveland Browns? Never. That has never happened with them because the Cleveland Browns have always been garbage since they came back to the league in 1999. I don't even need to be, you don't even need to be a football expert to know that for certain. That's just the God honest truth. They've had bad management and bad draft picks. They haven't developed these people very well, and the people that they do develop, they end up trading them away and they go off to be champions somewhere else. I mean, what more can you say about what the Cleveland Browns in general? I mean, that's how you know this is a true fictional movie in general, because you know none of this shit would have happened in real life if this movie actually took place in the reality of what the Cleveland Browns are in the modern day. But with all that said, though, it is still a really good movie, a very underrated Ivan Reitman film. Definitely one worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Draft Day is a pretty fun film overall. So with that said, let's move on to our last movie that we have here, Nicolas Cage starring in David Gordon Green's Joe.
What have you done, Joe?
Apparently, Joe did a lot in this movie, and that's why they're all after him. Nicolas Cage stars as a tormented man who hires a 15-year-old boy, played by Ty Sheridan of Mud fame, and protects him from his abusive father. This was directed by David Gordon Green. This is the same guy that gave us Pineapple Express, and this was before he kind of dampened his career with the Halloween and The Exorcist Believer reboots, and of course, those films didn't work out very well, but that still proves he's got a lot of directing abilities, because, yeah, he directed Nicolas Cage in what may be his probably overall best performance since leaving Las Vegas. I mean, this is a performance that probably should have gotten him an Oscar nomination. He knocks it out of the park in this movie. Ty Sheridan works off him very well in this film as well. You also have a cast that includes Heather Kafka, Ronnie G. Blevins, a lot of unknown actors in here, but it works really well. It's a really good performance from these people, especially Nicolas Cage, that really does carry the film in general. It's a terrific movie, man. I thought it was a very underrated film, a really good film overall. Cinematography with Tim Orr really delivering a lot of good visuals to this. It's a really solid film overall. One you probably have never even heard of, but it's definitely worth a look for if you haven't seen it. Joe's definitely one worth checking out with Nicolas Cage. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, not a very good slate coming into April 18th. We have Heaven is For Real, which is probably the best movie of the entire weekend when you really think about it. We have my second worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life, in a year where we'll have my worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life, and that will be in the summertime. But this one is Transcendence with Johnny Depp. We'll take a look at that one. We'll take a look at the sequel that nobody was asking for, but because the first one was a success, fuck it, we're making another one, A Haunted House 2. And Disney Nature with another Earth Day release, Bears. So we'll take a look at those 4 films that'll be coming up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. With all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.